In the realm of international relations, few propositions seem as improbable as the notion of Canada, our neighbor to the north, becoming the 51st state of the United States. This idea, while fascinating to some, is fraught with complexities and challenges that make it more of a thought experiment than a feasible reality. Yet, this very idea was floated by President-elect Donald Trump, igniting a firestorm of speculation and debate. Donald Trump's comments suggesting that Canada could be annexed as part of the United States sparked strong responses from Canadian leaders and citizens. Trump claimed significant interest in such an idea, but an opinion poll by Leader showed otherwise, with only 13% of Canadians supporting a merger and 82% firmly opposed. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau rejected the remarks outright, reaffirming Canada's sovereignty and independence. Opposition leader Pierre Poilievre also dismissed the idea, emphasizing that Canadians value their country's autonomy. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh criticized the comments as unrealistic and underscored that Canadians have no desire to become part of the U.S. These reactions reflect a broad consensus among Canada's political leadership. Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet dismissed Trump's suggestion of annexing Canada as absurd and unrealistic. He criticized the idea as a distraction from serious political matters and emphasized that Canada's sovereignty should not be questioned. Trump's suggestion, though seemingly far-fetched, sparks a thought-provoking discussion about the complex and multifaceted relationship between the United States and Canada. It encourages us to reflect on the deep-rooted ties and notable differences that shape the dynamics between these two North American nations. While the idea of Canada merging with the United States may initially seem interesting, a closer look at the complexities reveals why it's highly unlikely. Differences in political systems, economic policies, and cultural values are only the beginning of the challenges that would make such a merger impractical. From historical precedents and political realities to economic considerations and cultural distinctions, the obstacles to such a union are significant and multifaceted. The historical context alone provides ample evidence of the distinct paths these two nations have taken. The legal and economic hurdles are equally daunting. The integration of two vastly different economies would require monumental adjustments and compromises. Additionally, the legal frameworks governing both countries are distinct and would pose significant challenges to any merger. This video delves into the hypothetical scenario of Canada becoming the 51st state, carefully examining the historical, political, economic, cultural, and legal factors that make this prospect highly improbable. By dissecting these intricate aspects, we gain a deeper understanding of the unique relationship between Canada and the United States, shedding light on the enduring strength of Canadian sovereignty and the enduring partnership between these two distinct nations. The cultural ties, while strong, also highlight the differences that make each nation unique. As we embark on this exploration, it's crucial to acknowledge the enduring value of the U.S. Canada relationship in its current form. The two countries share a long history of cooperation, economic ties, and cultural exchange, making them close allies and partners on the world stage. This partnership has been built on mutual respect and shared values, which would be difficult to reconcile within a single political entity. Next, we will explore the key reasons why, despite these strong connections, a political merger remains highly unlikely. This discussion will delve into the historical background, political dynamics, economic impacts, cultural distinctions, and legal obstacles that highlight the complexities of such an idea.
The intertwined histories of Canada and the United States date back centuries, marked by periods of cooperation, conflict, and a gradual divergence in their national identities. The American Revolution, a pivotal moment in the history of both nations, saw the 13 colonies break away from British rule, while Canada remained a loyal dominion of the British Crown. This divergence set the stage for the development of two distinct national identities, shaping their respective political systems, cultures, and values. Despite their shared history and close proximity, the idea of Canada joining the United States as a state has never gained significant traction on either side of the border. While there have been sporadic instances of individuals or groups advocating for annexation, these movements have always remained on the fringes of mainstream political discourse. The historical context of U.S. Canada relations reveals a complex interplay of shared heritage, distinct national aspirations, and a mutual recognition of their separate paths. the two countries have forged a unique relationship based on cooperation, respect for sovereignty, and a shared commitment to democratic values.
The political landscapes of Canada and the United States, while sharing some democratic principles, exhibit stark differences that pose significant challenges to the notion of political integration. The two countries have developed their political systems independently over centuries, each shaped by unique historical events, cultural influences, and societal values. Canada's parliamentary system, with its multi-party representation and emphasis on consensus building, stands in contrast to the two-party system and more adversarial political climate of the United States. This fundamental difference in political structure influences how policies are debated, passed, and implemented in each country. The political cultures of the United States and Canada are markedly different. Canada prioritizes multiculturalism and inclusivity, which are foundational to its policies and political debates. These values are reflected in its immigration policies, social programs, and cultural practices. In contrast, the U.S. has a more individualistic political culture with a focus on freedom and personal responsibility, though it too embraces diversity. A prime example of Canada's unique political landscape is Quebec, where French is the dominant language. Given Quebec's distinct cultural and linguistic identity, the idea of merging with a predominantly English-speaking U.S. seems highly unlikely. The province's commitment to preserving its language and culture underscores the challenges such a union would face. Canadians generally prioritize social welfare programs, universal healthcare, and a more collectivist approach to governance. This is evident in the country's robust public healthcare system and extensive social safety nets designed to support its citizens. The Canadian approach to governance often involves a higher degree of government intervention in the economy and social services, aiming to ensure a more equitable distribution of resources and opportunities. In contrast, the United States leans towards individual liberty, limited government intervention, and a market-driven approach to social services. This is reflected in the country's emphasis on personal responsibility, entrepreneurial spirit, and a more privatized healthcare system. The American political ethos values freedom of choice and competition, which can lead to significant disparities in access to services and economic opportunities. These fundamental differences in political values and priorities would make it exceedingly difficult to reconcile the two systems under a single national banner. The integration of two distinct political systems with their own established institutions, electoral processes, and legislative frameworks would be a monumental undertaking. The process of merging political parties, reconciling differing electoral maps, and harmonizing legislative agendas would be fraught with complexities and potential for gridlock. The sheer logistical and political hurdles involved in such an endeavor further underscore the implausibility of Canada becoming the 51st state. The differences in political ideologies, governance structures, and societal values between Canada and the United States are deeply ingrained and would be challenging to bridge. The sheer logistical and political hurdles involved in such an endeavor further underscore the implausibility of Canada becoming the 51st state. The differences in political ideologies, governance structures, and societal values between Canada and the United States are deeply ingrained and would be challenging to bridge. Ultimately, the unique political identities of both nations are likely to remain distinct, preserving their individual approaches to governance and societal organization.
The economic implications of a hypothetical merger between Canada and the United States are multifaceted and far-reaching, encompassing a wide range of sectors and industries. This merger would not only affect trade and investment, but also have significant social and political ramifications. With both potential benefits and drawbacks for each nation, the complexities of merging two distinct economic systems cannot be understated. On the one hand, the integration of the two economies could lead to increased trade, investment, and economic growth. Businesses could find new markets, and consumers could enjoy a wider variety of goods and services. The elimination of trade barriers and the harmonization of regulations could, create new opportunities for businesses and consumers on both sides of the border. This could lead to more efficient supply chains and lower costs for goods and services. However, these potential benefits must be weighed against the potential costs and disruptions that could arise from such a merger. The transition period could be particularly challenging, with short-term economic instability. The Canadian economy, with its reliance on natural resources and a strong social safety net, would need to adapt to the more market-driven and globally competitive environment of the United States. This could involve significant policy changes and economic restructuring. This transition could lead to job losses in certain sectors, increased income inequality, and a shift in the labor market dynamics. Workers in traditional industries might find it difficult to adapt to new economic realities, and a reduction in social welfare programs. The social safety net that many Canadians rely on could be at risk, leading to increased poverty and social discontent. Moreover, the integration of two economies of such different sizes and structures would inevitably create winners and losers. Small businesses might struggle to compete with larger, more established companies. Certain industries and regions within Canada might benefit from increased access to the U.S. market, while others could face increased competition and potential decline. The manufacturing sector, for instance, could see both opportunities and challenges. The economic benefits and challenges of such a merger would likely be unevenly distributed, potentially deepening existing regional disparities and fueling social unrest. Policymakers would face the critical task of managing this transition to ensure outcomes that are fair and equitable for all citizens. Additionally, the question of resources cannot be overlooked. Canada's vast natural wealth, such as oil, gas, and timber, would undoubtedly become a contentious point of negotiation. Provinces might strongly oppose relinquishing control over their industries to U.S. federal regulations, further complicating the process.
Beyond the political and economic considerations, the cultural fabric of Canada and the United States, while interwoven in many ways, exhibits distinct threads that pose significant challenges to the idea of a cultural merger. Canada's national identity is deeply rooted in its history as a bilingual and multicultural society, with a strong emphasis on social tolerance, inclusivity, and a distinct sense of politeness and reserve. The United States, while also a diverse nation, has a different cultural narrative, often emphasizing individualism, assertiveness, and a melting pot approach to integration. These cultural differences, while not insurmountable, represent deeply ingrained values and social norms that would not simply disappear with the stroke of a pen. The integration of two distinct cultural identities would require a delicate balancing act, respecting and preserving the unique heritage of each nation while fostering a sense of shared national identity. The process of reconciling different cultural values, linguistic traditions, and social norms would be complex and potentially fraught with misunderstandings and resistance.
When contemplating the hypothetical scenario of Canada becoming the 51st state of the United States, one must consider the myriad of legal and constitutional challenges that would arise. Legal scholars and constitutional experts agree that integrating Canada into the U.S. legal framework would be an unprecedented and complex undertaking. First, the U.S. Constitution does not have a straightforward provision for admitting an entire sovereign nation as a state. This would likely necessitate significant amendments to the Constitution, a process that requires a two-thirds majority in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, followed by ratification from 3/4 of the state legislatures. This is a daunting task, given the current political climate and the diversity of interests among the states. Additionally, Canadian laws and legal traditions differ markedly from those of the United States. Canada operates under a parliamentary system with a distinct set of legal principles derived from British common law and its own unique statutes. Integrating these with the U.S. legal system, which is based on the Constitution and a different interpretation of common law, would require extensive legal harmonization. This process would involve reconciling differences in criminal justice, civil rights, and regulatory frameworks. Furthermore, legal experts point out that the rights and freedoms guaranteed under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms differ in significant ways from those protected under the U.S. Constitution. Bridging these differences would require careful negotiation to ensure that the rights of Canadian citizens are preserved while aligning with U.S. legal standards. The question of state sovereignty versus federal authority would also become a contentious issue. Canada, with its strong tradition of provincial autonomy, might resist ceding power to the federal government in Washington, D.C. This could lead to legal conflicts and political friction as both countries navigate the balance of power. In conclusion, while the idea of Canada becoming the 51st state is an intriguing thought experiment, the legal and constitutional hurdles are formidable. It would require unprecedented legal innovation, significant constitutional amendments, and a deep commitment to reconciling two complex and distinct legal systems. The path to such a merger, if ever undertaken, would be long, fraught with challenges, and require the utmost cooperation and goodwill from both nations. So, while the idea of Canada becoming the 51st state is fun to imagine, the reality is much more complicated. From history to politics, economics, culture, and legal barriers, it's clear that this scenario is unlikely to ever happen. But it's always fascinating to explore these what-ifs, right? Thank you for watching. Be sure to explore our channel for more valuable insights and helpful tips. If you enjoyed this video, please show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support makes it possible for us to bring you even more helpful content. See you in the next video.